Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Yarns with Andy. Today I've got Fiona Bycroft. So Fiona Bycroft is the CEO of Naut, and they actually do some cool shit. They build electric boats. Or electric
a variation
engines
of
for boats.
that. We do electric propulsion systems.
Yep.
So engines are no longer a thing. You have a
Right.
motor instead, but it takes quite a bit of other stuff to put it all together. So we do the propulsion system, and so the idea is that it can go into virtually any boat. So we're focusing on sort of the 6 to 12 metre range. So, you know, you're sort of everyday fisher person or just get out on the water type boat.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Really cool.
It's real cool.
Real cool.
Yeah.
But more interestingly, I have a little story about how I met, how Fiona and I met. So Fiona was my manager 14 years ago when we were working in the steel mill together. See, that long ago, eh?
It's horrifying.
Yeah, but Fee, you've been in the construction industry for a while, and then now you've switched over to building boats. So talk us through your journey.
Yep, cool. So I actually studied engineering, chemical engineering, which in itself can be a little bit hard to understand. So chemical engineering covers a few things, chemicals, materials and process. So it was always process that I was really excited about. So you can think about process engineering like when you go to bake a cake, I assume you do that. You take raw materials or ingredients.
I don't even know what the raw materials are for a cake.
Put the raw materials together, mix them up in a certain order and certain quantities, put it in a baking tin, put it into the oven, apply heat for a certain time, and hopefully it comes out with something that's edible.
Yep.
So that's what process engineering is,
Nice.
and it's just done on a big scale. So it could be in pulp and paper, steel, obviously
right. That's where we met.
All sorts of big industry like that. So I started as a chemical engineer, finished up and went and had my first job at Kinleith Pulp and Paper Mill.
That's right.
In Tokoroa,
which
was interestingly enough where my dad's first job out of university also was. So
really cool.
I was actually born in Tokoroa.
Yeah.
So I actually did engineering for a year and a half, and then went and did the sort of standard OE. So went overseas for a couple of years. When I was over there, I didn't have enough experience to work as an engineer, so I'd picked up a few skills just doing VBA or Visual Basic, so basic programming, and got a few jobs over there as an Excel programmer or Microsoft Access programmer. So when I came back...
Was Excel programmer really a job back then?
Yep. Yep, and it paid well.
Oh, shit. Okay. Call it the good old days now. Welcome, ChatGPT.
Exactly. So when I came back to New Zealand, I ended up working for a company, Siemens. You may have heard of it. It's quite a large company. Yeah. So Siemens here in New Zealand, I worked for the division that did the maintenance on the electrical distribution network, so the power lines that get power to your house. So we did the maintenance on the power lines over on the North Shore here in Auckland, and they were looking for someone to develop a database so that they could record all their defects and then create a plan to fix them.
Yep.
And now everyone will sort of go, well, isn't that standard what every single ERP does? But yes, we are talking a few years ago now.
Yes and no. How many of them do it well, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, because I had those skills in Microsoft Access, I was employed there to develop this database for them. So I was actually the maintenance manager in that role. And so developed this database, and pretty much as soon as I'd done it, they implemented SAP, so it was no longer used. But yeah, getting an ERP implementation is actually a great experience as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so I had 5 years there, went overseas for another OE around Africa this time.
Oh, nice.
And when I came back, applied for another job as a maintenance manager and ended up back at Kinleith with ABB. So ABB was obviously the company we were both working for when we met. So went back to Kinleith as the maintenance manager this time. And so ABB had a division where industrial work sites like that would outsource their maintenance, and we would do all the
Project management.
Well, yeah, like decide what maintenance to do. And so then with ABB, I obviously was there for a while, went up to New Zealand Steel and worked with you.
Yep.
Then went over to Australia, worked in a brewery over there. And then they actually sold that little part of the company and became Quant. I'm not sure if you were still there then. No. And then with Quant, I ended up over in China for about a year and a half. And so over this time, even though I was a chemical engineer, I'd basically worked for electrical engineering companies my entire career. So when I came back from overseas, shifted up to Whangarei and sort of thought, I'm not going to find an amazing job up here. And massive shout out to Whangarei. It's an amazing city, so many large companies that are just doing so awesomely, both around New Zealand and globally. And so walked into an electrical engineering company that again did maintenance, but also did construction.
Yep.
And so that's
is that where your construction experience stems from?
Yeah. So that's how I got
and we did meet
construction.
again when you were working there too.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So because it was a new industry for me, there were certain things I didn't know, and so I was quite happy to put up my hand and say, hey, I don't understand this, need a bit of help, and
nice.
Yeah, and so that's when we were in touch again.
And now you're the CEO of Naut.
Yeah, so
doing cool shit.
Yeah, doing cool shit.
Can I ask, is there anybody else building electric boats?
So the answer is yes, and there is in New Zealand as well. And so, in fact, the reason I got into this is because with Mackay, Mackay's been in the marine industry for about 20 years and did several hybrid boats.
Yep.
And then a ferry company down in Wellington, the East by West ferry, they wanted an electric ferry. So the boat builder engaged Mackay to do the design and build for the electric propulsion system for that ferry.
Wow. And
so it's the first fully electric ferry in the Southern Hemisphere. And I understand the first or the only ocean-going electric ferry in the world, and we've done that here in New Zealand.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so cool, and that's been
well done to you guys.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and so that's been in operation for 18 months now. So again, if anyone's down in Wellington, I'd highly recommend giving it a go.
Mate, if I'm not there, I'll check it out. For sure.
No, it's really very cool. And so that company is doing the ferry size. There's other companies doing smaller boats, so, sort of 3-4 metres. Doesn't take as much energy to get these things moving, and so there's quite a few players in that lower range. But when we started out, there was simply nothing available that would get a boat planing, which a lot of Kiwis like to do, in that sort of 6 to 12 metre range. So we've focused in a niche area. As far as we know, we're the only ones doing it commercially in New Zealand.
Cool. Well done to you guys.
Yeah.
Sophie, equality in the industry is something that you're very passionate about. It's something I hope everybody works towards in the industry. Can we touch on your highs and lows whilst working in the industry? Yep,
for sure. So obviously, I'm obviously a female. Maybe not so obviously, I'm also queer.
Yep.
So one of the things, I guess, when we're talking about equality, you've got, as it relates to diversity, you've got both those, visual diversity and then the not so visual diversity. And so, I've been passionate about promoting women in the male-dominated industries that I've always worked in. And, this whole thing's been a journey for me because there's not only obviously gender diversity, there's sexual identity, there's marital status, there's class, race, Christianity.
Trust me, I know all about that.
Exactly.
Because I come from the most racist country on planet Earth.
Yeah, okay.
We speak 350 different languages. We have more than 1,000 different religions, and trust me.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess that's why I want to be really sensitive about the fact that, I've got my perspective on diversity, but it's a journey for everyone because I certainly, won't have experienced some of the things that you have just as much. You won't have experienced some of the things that I have. And that obviously applies for everyone. So I've always been really interested in women in the male-dominated industry, because that is my experience and something that I feel like I can have authority on. But I do, like I said, I want to be aware that, I certainly don't have it perfect, and there's a whole range of things. Yeah, there's a whole range of things that you can look at. And so now I work for Naut is a Māori-owned business.
Yeah.
And so, we're really interested, and especially because we're whangarei based, so we've got a significant portion of Māori people that live up there, and so we want our workforce to represent the community in which we operate. And so it's a learning journey for me now, experiencing or thinking about what we do to make our environment suitable for diversity and culture, and not just gender and every other sort of diversity there can be. But I guess one thing I've realised is that, as soon as you open up your mind to being diverse in one particular area, it actually benefits everything, all the other aspects of diversity. So anyway, we started out talking about women in the industry.
I'm letting you carry on your journey and your thought pattern, which is interesting.
And so I guess one of the things that's interesting is this is all I've ever done. It's my own experience as being a female in a male-dominated industry. And so I went to a lunch the other day that was a women's lunch.
Was this the event that you attended in Australia?
No, that was something different that I'll come back to, but it was I can't even remember what event it was, but it was a big event, and once again, male-dominated, and they had a breakaway lunch for women to talk about women's diversity in the workforce, and I was horrified.
Can I pause there?
Yeah.
So you had men and women attend an event, and the woman broke out to talk about
the lack of diversity in the industry. Honestly, it made me the only good. Well, it's good that women get together and have shared experiences, but if we want to get greater diversity in any sort of industry, then men or the majority player has to be part of that conversation. So it was I didn't feel it was the right way to go about improving diversity, was having all the people that are already aware of the benefits and the challenges getting together in a room and leaving the main player out of it. So anyway, I'll put that to the side.
Yeah, park that, right.
One of the conversations that we were asked was, what are the challenges that you've faced being female in the male-dominated industry?
Like construction, yeah?
Yeah. And because I was in construction at that stage, and my response was, nothing. And then they went round the room and asked other people about, people answered the question. And so someone said, when I go in with my male colleague, even if he's more junior, they always talk to him instead. And I was like, I have that. Okay. And another one was, always assume that
Does that really happen?
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, okay. I'm being educated here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's not a one-off. It happens routinely. Or being assumed that you're the administrator. Clearly nothing wrong with being an administrator, but that's the assumption. And it's not often that I would suspect that a male CEO is asked if they're the administrator of their company.
Fair.
Another one was that the gender language is not always. Another thing is that the gender language is often male.
He, him.
Yep, exactly. And so you're talking about the tradesman or, whatever other language is male orientated.
Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man, yeah. And one of the reasons I hear that is, but all our tradespeople are men, so they are tradesmen. And so my challenge back to them is that if we only ever say tradesmen, it's never going to be tradeswomen, because you're excluding women simply by saying tradesmen. You're creating the story that women do not come onto our site.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to dig into that a bit deeper, but we'll save that conversation for a bit later.
Fantastic.
So, Fee, we've been talking about diversity. I'd love to carry that conversation on.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you see as being important to creating a diverse workforce
Cool.
within the male-dominated construction industry?
I love this question.
Do you?
And I'm going to actually go back quite early
Go.
in people's lives. So I mentioned I'm queer. My late partner was obviously female.
My condolences on your partner.
Thank you.
Yeah, apologies.
So Lisa, obviously female.
Yeah.
She was a police officer. Always had better work stories about tackling these criminals to the ground. And she was strong, like seriously strong. And then there's me, who's an engineer. I'm 6 foot tall, so I think I'm actually taller than the average male in the world. And we've got a son. So I was one day talking to my son when he's 5 years old, and he made a comment, and I can't remember the exact words, but certainly the comment implied that men are strong and men are tall.
Interesting.
And I thought, how has society influenced his thinking to such a degree that his beliefs, so that his beliefs are now stronger than his lived experience? With his lived experience being a super tall mum and a super strong mum, and yet he's telling me that it's only men that are tall and men that are strong.
And this is at 5 years old.
This is at 5 years old.
So society's conditioned him
Absolutely. Yeah.
unknowingly
Yeah.
to put those thoughts in his head to say men are the superior.
Yes. Yep, exactly. And it's little things all the time. And so since then I've really kept an eye out about what sort of things are creating this to happen. So again, I was at my son's school when he was about 6, and the teacher needed something moved, and he said, I need 4 strong boys to come and move this. I was just like thinking, seriously? The very same morning, they have a fishing competition, and one of the teachers during the school assembly said to the kids, whose dad or uncle is taking them out fishing this weekend? And I loved it because one of the young girls put her hand up and said, my auntie's taking me fishing.
Oh, yo.
So I loved that. And yeah, even the other day, I was at hockey and they needed some goals moved, and one of the women said, oh, we need some men to move the hockey goal. And I actually said to her, why do they have to be men to do this job? And she said, oh, they need to be tall and strong to be able to move it. And my thought was, there's women that are tall and strong.
Yeah.
They don't have to actually be men to do this. So I think there's a real opportunity to be aware of the language that's used around our children, and things like saying that's a girl's colour or that's a boy's toy.
Funny.
Just shouldn't be
my
used.
My son came a pretty similar experience.
Yeah.
My son, he's 5 now, and wouldn't watch what's the Disney thing, the princess movie?
Oh, Frozen. Yeah.
Sorry, not that I don't know the movie. I just haven't seen it in a long time. Brain fart. He wouldn't watch Frozen.
Yeah.
It's a girls' movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's a movie. It doesn't have to be a girls' movie or a boys' movie.
Yeah.
Can we watch it together?
Yeah.
And I'm still struggling to get him to watch it with me.
Yeah. And I think there is a part about, if a child's not into something, they don't need to be into something.
That's fine.
But it horrifies me, when children are like, oh, that's a boy's thing or that's a girl's thing, or and so I think there's always an opportunity for parents to.
So what would you do differently
down.
in the construction industry? What's happening now? What would you recommend that we do differently?
Yeah, so that's, I guess, something for society, and then there's getting into the schools and making sure that school children, and especially girls, to get into male-dominated industries, are aware of that this is an opportunity and that they will be supported. So it's raising that awareness that it is an option. Then during your recruiting process, I think there's a real opportunity to make sure that if you want diversity, that sometimes you have to put extra effort in to get that diversity. So a company I know recently recruited some high-level positions and engaged a recruitment firm that specifically looked for diversity. And one fact that they told me that I found really eye-opening was that they were a headhunting company. So they would go and look for potential candidates and cold call them and they said that it would take, on average, a call to a white male that was suitable. One call was sort of enough to get them to apply. For women that were fully qualified, 2 phone calls to get them to apply. And for Māori or Pacifica, 3 phone calls to tell them that they were good enough to get them to apply. So if you want diversity, you have to put effort in to encourage diverse.
That's an interesting stat, eh?
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Well, I mean, they only had to give me half a call and
Clearly, this is averages.
Yeah.
But I know for myself that I'm trying to recruit at the moment, and I've had to go above and beyond to get the diversity, and even then it can be a struggle if there's not that, the numbers coming through university.
And you believe that having a diverse culture will promote a better working environment within your company?
That's a whole topic in itself, which I'd love to do. Can I just finish off
please. I'm sorry.
What companies can do?
Yep.
So put effort into your recruiting process, and the next part is making sure that your workplace is ready to have a diverse workforce. So that's not just the setup of the workplace. So, one example is, it's probably not a surprise, women have periods, and so have facilities there for women to deal with it.
Is that not normal?
No.
Sorry, I'm just being naive here, but okay.
Yeah. It's simple
So
things like.
help me understand. Well, if the facilities don't exist for you to deal with your periods, what do you do?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just don't know. And so, I've never had to work on a construction work site where
That's interesting,
there may be no facilities, or there might be portaloos. And, portaloos are not exactly the nicest environment to deal with anyway. So it's just thinking those things through. And so, one solution might be there's all sorts of sustainable period.
You've just got me thinking about every single job site I worked on in the past. I've never thought about this.
Yeah. And, so there's all sorts of sustainable period products that are available now, which, companies could provide to their women, which means that they don't have to worry about that during the day. So sustainable product and helping women just feel better about themselves in a workplace, and removing one challenge. If it's in the office, it's making sure that, for example, you've got a set of drawers available for women to keep their products so they don't have to walk through the office, advertising that they've got their period.
Fair.
Yeah. So, that's
it's the little things.
It's the little things, exactly. And so that's one simple example that people might never have thought about.
I've never thought about it to today.
Yeah.
Until you brought it up. Swear to God, didn't even go through my mind.
Exactly.
The number of job sites I've been on, it's the last thing I would normally think about.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing about having your workplace set up. The other thing is having your workforce set up to take diversity. So there's probably some diversity training with that. But my previous company, an electrical company, we had a female apprentice, and she'd go out on a site, and sometimes the customers would say, I'm not having her work on my site.
Really?
Yep, still
But
happened.
she was skilled, she was qualified?
Yep, absolutely.
So how does it matter?
Yep, exactly. But that's still, unfortunately, what might happen from some people. So you need your male workforce to be able to stand up and say, no, she is all these things. She's qualified, she's safe. She is going to come and do this work with me. So your workforce needs to accept them and make them feel welcome, and then defend them if they get external pressures.
Yeah, there's a few things that I didn't think about that's come to light, which is interesting. Yeah, right. I mean, as a male, I don't normally process what other people are going through, right? You know me as well. I'm just focused on my problem and I just want to get it solved. So, I'm a bit in shock right now. But.
And so I guess one of the key things, like I said right at the beginning, I can't talk for other parts of diversity. I can't talk about what the race side of it.
Yeah, fair
I'm
enough.
fortunate to be a Pākehā.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the other important things is just to ask people. Don't assume about what the challenges are or aren't. And so just ask
I've
them.
had my fair share of challenges in New Zealand, trust me.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, but I'm not going to let that stop me.
Yep.
Fuck that. I'm getting out of bed every day and I'm fucking ready to kill the day. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll save that for a lunch conversation.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, Fee, we just finished touching on this. So, what are the benefits of having a diverse workforce? What are your views on having a diverse workforce?
So, it's a great question about why do we want diversity, and I've often thought about this, and I was going to say common knowledge, but maybe it's not common because lots of people actually don't have diversity, so maybe it's not common knowledge.
Or maybe they haven't even thought about it.
Maybe they haven't thought about it, but it is well proven that a diverse workforce gets better outcomes for the business in the long run. So then you go into why is that? And my views on that have been around that you put more effort into thinking things through from different perspectives at the start, so you don't come up with problems at the end. And so I actually attended a talk the other day that put it really well about diversity of thought. And that's ultimately what you want is people that think differently.
Different perspectives
And can challenge each other.
I agree with that, because my neurons fire very differently to your neurons because of the past experiences that I've had.
Yep.
And technically, I'll touch a little bit on the religion, right?
Yep.
I'll bring it back to this conversation though. So I'm technically born a Hindu, okay? I went to a Christian school, like a brothers-run institution all my life. So Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, the whole thing, right? I did my engineering in a Muslim country in Dubai, yeah? And today I believe Google is God. I've altered that thing a little bit, maybe ChatGPT is God, but yeah. Seriously though, but all of those experiences, I would look at problems in a different way to how possibly you would look at problems.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's the value in it. And I think certainly I'd say our relationship has always been full of respect for each other,
100%,
and able to challenge each other, and have better outcomes because of it at the end.
Yep.
And one of the things that was really interesting from this talk that I went to is there's actually an optimal level of diversity of thought. So you need to have enough to have different perspectives, but if you've got too much,
there's conflict.
Well, there's always going to be conflict, but I think conflict's good. So again, I'll come back to that. But you have to be able to agree on something and move forward. Because otherwise, if you always stay in the circle about this is my opinion, and you never move forward, obviously that's just as much of a problem as moving forward too quickly without actually challenging, what we're doing and how we're doing it, and have we considered different perspectives.
Yeah.
But coming back to that bit in the middle about conflict, my view is that, conflict is actually really good as long as it's dealt with in a really good way.
And decisions are made.
Yes.
And you don't leave it at indecision.
Absolutely.
Because we're really good at that in the construction industry, right?
Yeah.
Indecision's the fucking worst decision you'll ever make. But I'll tell you, we get stuck in an indecision loop. Oh, I don't have all the right data. I don't have, oh, fuck. Anyways. I see your point. It's interesting.
And so I think there's a way that, if you want diversity, there's things that you can do to make sure that doesn't happen. So one of the things that I've done that's always been really enjoyable with my team is that we do a personality test. So everyone does it on themselves. It almost doesn't matter what the personality test is. There's so many of them. But you do it on yourself, and then you go through it with the team and talk about this is what's good about working with me. These are the challenges. And this is how you should work with me to get the best out of me. And I love doing that because it gives everyone an opportunity to think about themselves and how they operate, and then become more open-minded about how do I work with this person. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you're the same as me about, being really quick thinking and wanting to drive things forward. But then you've got some people that are really analytical and they need time to process data. So you can't just turn up and be, hey, I want to make this decision. So instead, 24 hours before that, you give them information and say, this is the decision I'd like to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so just thinking about the ways of working,
Yeah.
and getting the benefits out of that diversity.
100%. So I've had a life-changing experience early this year. Do you know Drew Knowles? Do you know who he is?
I think I've heard the name, but I couldn't say who.
Man's a fucking genius.
Okay.
He literally saved my life, my career, my everything. I was at a point where I was completely stressed. I was gone, losing the plot.
Yeah.
I was overworked, too stressed, taking it out on the missus. Like we have yelling fights.
Yeah.
And we're not in a good place.
Yeah. Okay.
I turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Not that I don't drink now, I do. just not as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he helped me understand how to work better with people.
Yeah.
Pretty much similarly to doing a personality test, but he just took it one step further for me.
Yeah.
He helped me really engage with people, but also helped me slow things down so I could be more productive. And that has done so much for me.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't explain how much that's
Okay.
actually helped me grow as a person, helped me work through my blockages and engage better with people. I definitely look at him to see if he can come and help you with your company to build that community within your company.
Yeah.
I know something to think about, but
Yeah, no,
it's
it
been
sounds-
life-changing for me.
Yeah, sounds amazing, and I'd love to hear more about that because it's really interesting. I think about sometimes doing things for yourself. I find really hard when it's purely something for me, but sometimes you find going and doing those things when it's going to impact or benefit the business becomes easier.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as selfish to go and take time out and look after yourself
100%
when
not.
it's going to have business benefits.
Yeah. But it's not only that. I mean, you could do it for personal benefits, right? I mean, I'd book a movie in the middle of the day and go watch a movie with Para. Fuck, I'll totally do it.
That's my birthday treat. I go to the movies
Yeah?
on my own by myself on my birthday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. I mean,
Self-indulgent.
I now take personal time out for myself.
Yeah.
So if it's during work hours, it's during work hours.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Nice.
You know, Para and I'd go watch a movie, or
Cool.
well, we'd
Yeah.
go have a lunch date. And
Nice.
anyways, sorry,
Cool.
I did. We did digress there a little bit, didn't we?
No, that's great though. Like, and the point I think you were making is getting the best out of other people.
A diverse work group.
Yeah, absolutely is critical.
Build a community.
Yeah.
Get them engaged, but make a decision
Yeah.
and move forward.
Yeah,
Yep.
perfect.
But we've always had healthy conflict, haven't we?
I love it.
In our entire working relationship, we've always had healthy conflict.
Do you know some of my best ongoing relationships that have started professionally have been with people that I've been able to have really good debate with.
Yeah.
And I think when there's just that respect behind it,
Yeah.
that's a critical part of it is the respect.
Is the mutual
behind it.
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we've had conflict, and then and in the end I'll be like, fuck, okay, she's a manager, she's made a decision, we've got to move on now. Box on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, really good.
Yeah.
Nah, cheers, Fee. Appreciate that. Having moved from the construction industry, how do you think it's different now to where you are to what was in the construction industry?
Yeah. So what I found in the construction industry, because we're an electrical contractor and we were sort of, down the path a little bit, there were a few challenges that came with that anyway, and it often felt that like electrical, because it was one of the later activities to be done. It was
You're always on the critical path.
Yeah,
You're
always
always
on
in
the critical,
delay.
and it was often an afterthought. But if I go back to other experiences I've had where it's been a really collaborative and respectful approach, and wanting everyone to succeed and having that early engagement, man, it's just so completely different outcome at the end. And so looking back on the construction industry, I think there's a lot of opportunity there to learn about or to engage with doing early contractor engagement.
But do you think that really solves problems though? Do you think that brings teams together? ECIs, early contractor involvement.
Absolutely.
Does it really?
the number of times that I've seen, when we're considered a, just an electrical contractor who needs to come in and just do what they're told, the number of times that we've actually spotted things that were not, say, designed suitably that could have been resolved if we'd identified that up front. So that's one example. The other example is that when you're putting your critical path together, if you don't have someone that's got that electrical understanding, and it's just a chunk of time for electrical, you may not be actually doing it in the best way. So I absolutely believe that early contractor engagement can make a massive difference. But
it depends on the people involved in running that ECO.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. And
hugely.
If there's experience there, and I'm talking about it obviously from an electrical perspective, and so if there is electrical expertise in the team that's developing the project, maybe it's a different. Maybe it's not needed in that situation.
Okay. Yep. Sorry, I digressed there a little bit, but let's carry on. What's different from the construction industry to where you are now?
Yeah. So certainly one of the other things that I've seen, so now in the startup industry, effectively, probably two key things I'd say is the acknowledgement from people that what you're going to do is going to cost more and take longer than what you expect. So be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Whereas in the construction industry, it's very much a do it now, do it cheaper, do it faster.
Do it yesterday.
Yeah, but keep the quality high.
Yeah.
And so there's not sort of that's quite a contrasting difference. And I will acknowledge, the two industries are in a very different stage in their maturity. Obviously startups are literally startups.
Yeah. And you'll do anything to succeed.
Yeah.
Right. And whereas construction is an absolute red ocean.
Yeah.
It's dog eat dog for breakfast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that, I've unfortunately seen it too many times where, head contractors see it as a win if they, force smaller companies or subcontractors to price it really lowly, and if that company goes out of business, it doesn't matter because there's another one that's going to come along, And
well, that's so bad, eh?
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's just not good for anyone to have these companies go out of business.
Absolutely not. It's not good for the industry at all. Like, look at the number of companies that have gone bust just in the last 3 years in construction. It's insane.
Exactly. And I think whether there's something there going right back to when the contracts tendered that everyone's just trying so hard to win it and winning it on price, irrespective of the how much the non-price attributes actually impact the selection process.
They don't matter. In the New Zealand procurement model, at least in construction, the non-price, it's literally one thing that adds most of the weight is literally the price.
Yep.
You give me the lowest bid, I'll take you. Your non-price attribute, do you have the labour? Who cares?
Yeah.
What quality will you deliver it in? Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
We'll deal with it later. And it's, come on, I think we can do much better in New Zealand from a procurement perspective. We had a whole panel discussion about it earlier.
Yeah.
And
you're clearly putting it much more bluntly than I was feeling comfortable to do, but I 100% agree with that.
It is the truth, isn't it?
And
you've been a subcontractor.
Absolutely.
As in, how difficult has it been to secure work, and is it not always an uphill battle?
Oh, I wouldn't say always, but absolutely, there's times where it's. I mean, there's times that we've had to price things at not making any profit, just to win a job,
and keep your workforce employed. Keep
workforce employed, and that's just not good for anyone when everyone's having to price it unrealistically and I guess race to the bottom.
So how do we translate that? Where you are, you're in the startup sector, where everybody's working collaboratively, everybody's rooting for each other, everybody wants everybody to succeed.
Yeah.
Here we have a red ocean where people slashing one another to make a profit.
Yeah.
How do we translate that from where you are, all your learnings from there, to construction?
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive question to be answering.
A loaded question.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, and what I'd say is there's obviously not one single answer, and there's not one way that you can just, you know, make it disappear, because it comes right from, like I said, the tendering process, and somehow that price actually not being the number one factor, even if it says it's, you know, price is 60% attributable, you know, we all know that that's
bullshit.
Yeah. And so, you know, something has to change there, and ultimately I think it is, you know, the people definitely think that they're doing the right thing, you know, especially when there's, you know, government or councils or whatever have got certain processes that they have to go through. I think they think that they're doing
processes.
Yeah, and I think they're doing the right things, but those non-price are just so subjective, and yeah, I guess with me not having been at the table, it's probably difficult to comment on that.
So you reckon we can do a better job in our procurement process?
Absolutely, in the procurement process. And then also, you know, because I've obviously been on the subcontractor side, is there needs to be a view that by the head contractor of saying, I have to win this. You know, it has to be an approach of, we have to win this together, and I want my subcontractor to do well enough to still be around at the end of this and work with us on the next project.
You know what the interesting thing is? I've stopped calling subcontractors on my programs.
Yeah.
I call them bill partners.
Nice. Yep.
You see, you keep talking about the narrative.
Yeah.
Let's start building the narrative from the program where it's written.
Yeah.
They're not subcontractors.
Yeah.
They're bill partners.
Yeah.
You work with them. They don't work for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Nice.
Anyways.
Yeah.
And that's the one little thing I'm trying to do too.
Yeah. No, look, and I love it. And it's, again, it's about, I think about that respect that you have for them. And so, yeah, looking back, you know, I think the construction industry really is a bullyish industry, and I'd love to see somehow that just completely being wiped out.
I reckon it'll change.
Yeah, and again, that's why you need diversity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I reckon it will change.
Yeah.
With digitalization, at the rate things are moving, we will be forced to adapt. I strongly believe that.
Cool. Look forward to seeing it.
We'll get there, Fiona. We'll get there. I'm sure we will. You've had some challenges in life. Yep. How do you keep yourself motivated in the hardest of times?
Yeah. Look, this is probably the question I've found the hardest to actually think about.
I knew that'll be your hardest one.
Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing I'd say is, one, I'm not perfect by any stretch at this. It's still it's very much an ongoing process for me.
Nobody is.
But I think for me, it was actually about setting things up in the good times before the bad times come along. So, so I guess we'll talk about the elephant in the room. My partner got cancer, 18-month duration where she was quite sick before she passed away. So this is a journey I don't want anyone to have to go through. And you're never going to know when this is going to happen. And I guess that was my story. Everyone has different things that happen in their lives. You've just talked about something that came along and hit you. So I guess, we're all going to have something in our lives that's going to come along and take us out. And so it's thinking about what can you do in the good times to be ready for that, knowing you're never going to know when it's going to happen. And so one of the things that I actually did was actually do exactly what we talked about, set up that community in my workplace with my team. And so, making sure that they were a community that worked together and supported each other and supported me, and we had these discussions and we had respect for each other, and basically I worked towards wanting to make myself dispensable. I worked towards making myself dispensable, and there's massive benefits in that, because it means if there's a cool opportunity, you can actually walk away and take that up. Or, you know, in my case, when my partner got sick, I was able to walk away from work for an extended period of time and know that everything would carry on fine. Now, if I hadn't done that and I'd, you know, been in a situation where things couldn't operate without me, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And then I would have had the stress of work on top of the stress of my partner's health.
Yeah.
And so...
I fully agree, right? Every job I've had, I've worked towards making myself redundant.
Yeah.
This funny thing happened because of that, though.
Yeah.
Every time I worked towards making myself redundant, the company now had to either figure out what to do with me.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had to give me a pay rise, otherwise I wouldn't stay because I would have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And they've got to give me a promotion. Otherwise, why would I stay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people think that if you're working towards your redundancy, that you're going to be out of a job.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to be out of a job, but then hang on. Here's the other side of things. That company does not fucking want to lose you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you've done such an efficient job, they'd retain you. For anybody that thinks they're going to lose a job, they should just look at the cost of hiring.
Yeah.
Cost of recruitment.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, and cost of training and everything
Yeah.
else that comes with it. It's insane.
Yeah.
They'd rather pay you extra $20,000
Yeah.
and give you a promotion.
Yeah.
With a bonus, probably. Who knows?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah. And so, I 100% agree with you that all the things that you do, just because they actually benefit the workplace, like having diversity and having this community of, you know, within the workplace, actually benefits you personally as well.
100%.
So
does.
why wouldn't you do it?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And so you know, some of the things I probably wish that I'd done more to prepare myself for the hard times was, you know, having more things that brought me joy. So,
Yep.
you know, and kept me healthy. So I wish, you know, that I had created more hobbies for myself and more exercise regimes for myself in those good times. Because when I went through the bad times, I found it really hard to have the energy to go and do those things.
Right, and the motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, you know, I did find for me, you know, when you're a bit down, it's hard to go, right, I'm going to go for a run or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and it's only recently that I've taken up singing, and that was solely to benefit my public speaking for work. Yep. And it turns out I love it. Like, nice. I literally skip out of my singing lessons.
Yeah.
And I've just gone back to doing I've started doing lunchtime exercise classes. Sweet. You know, I always had an excuse about why I couldn't go running in the morning because I've got the kids, or running in the evening because it's dark. Yeah. And so I've found a way to do it that fits in with my day. And it's, you know, exactly like you're saying, I do these things during the workday, but they're so beneficial all around.
Yeah, I mean, how does it matter whether you do it during the workday? End of the day, if you deliver your work, who cares when you deliver it? Yeah. No, good on you. Good on you for starting an exercise regime and staying fit and healthy. Yeah,
and it's, you know, it's taken a while for me to get into the ability to do it. So, like I said, I kind of wish that those had been set up, you know, in the good times before. Right. But I'm there now.
So you made a habit out of it before, so it wasn't very difficult for you to carry on doing it. Yeah, interesting. I've never thought of that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool. No, good on you, Fee. But thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for all your insights. I know there's something that you want to put out there.
Yep, one challenge.
But I don't know what though.
No, one challenge to you is I love how you're changing the narrative around build partners. Yes. And love that. I'll take that away. So the challenge that I'll put out to you is to challenge your guest speakers to use gender neutral language. I have noticed in some of your podcasts that it is he, tradesman. Yep. So fair. That's my challenge to you.
Okay. No, challenge accepted. I will. I'll keep that in mind. Fair. I will keep that in mind. Awesome. For next time. But thank you so much, though. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. That's been a joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Andy.
Cheers.